Was a king ever truly alone? Could a monarch, draped in velvet and burdened by centuries, ever escape the weight of expectation, the relentless scrutiny of a nation? And what happens when the very foundations of that power, loyalty, tradition, a carefully constructed image, begin to crumble under the pressure of scandal and shifting public sentiment? Let's rewind. It's 1940. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke and fear. Britain is staring down the barrel of a Nazi onslaught, and a quiet, unassuming man, George VI, is suddenly thrust onto the throne. His brother, Edward VIII, a dazzling, charismatic figure with a penchant for American actresses and a fatal lack of political acumen, had abdicated, leaving the crown to a man who'd spent his life as a spare, a dutiful prince overshadowed by his more flamboyant sibling. The first few years were a blur of crisis. The Blitz ravaged London, rationing became the norm, and the shadow of war loomed large. But amidst the chaos, a remarkable partnership began to blossom between George VI and Winston Churchill. Churchill, a titan of a man with a booming voice and an even bigger ego, needed a steady hand, a symbol of national unity. George VI, a man of quiet dignity and surprising resilience, provided precisely that. Their relationship wasn't one of equals, not initially. Churchill, a seasoned politician, held the reins of power, while George VI, a relatively inexperienced ruler, relied heavily on his counsel. Yet beneath the surface of this dynamic lay a deep mutual respect and a shared determination to see Britain through the war. Consider El Alamein. The Battle of El Alamein, a desperate gamble in the North African desert, was a turning point. The Afrika Korps, a formidable German force led by the ruthless Erwin Rommel, threatened to overrun Egypt and cut off Britain's vital supply lines. The fate of the Middle East and potentially the entire war effort hung in the balance. A letter arrived at Buckingham Palace, penned by the king himself. It wasn't a grand declaration of military strategy, but a simple expression of support. "My dear Winston," it began, "I must send you my warmest congratulations on the great victory of the 8th Army in Egypt." The words, unassuming as they were, carried immense weight. Churchill, a man not known for overt displays of emotion, responded with a heartfelt acknowledgement of the king's support. "No minister in modern times, and I dare say in long days past, has received more help and comfort from the king," he wrote. "And this has brought us all thus far with broadening hopes, and now I feel to brightening skies." But the king's role extended far beyond offering words of encouragement. He was a master of deception, a surprisingly adept actor in a carefully orchestrated charade. The Allies were planning a massive invasion of Europe, Operation Overlord, but they needed to mislead the Germans about the landing site. The Nazis, obsessed with anticipating every Allied move, were pouring troops into Normandy, preparing for a devastating assault. So a colossal fake fuel depot was constructed on the French coast, a vast, sprawling complex designed to give the impression that the Allies were planning to land in that area. King George VI, ever the dutiful servant, became the face of this deception. He inspected the facility, posing for photographs, shaking hands with officials, and generally projecting an air of confidence and strategic planning. He even wore a rather uncomfortable military uniform, complete with a pith helmet for the occasion. This wasn't just a photo opportunity, it was a crucial element of the Allied strategy. The Germans, believing the invasion was imminent in Normandy, were caught completely off guard when the Allies landed at Utah and Omaha beaches on June 6, 1944. The invasion itself was a logistical nightmare, a breathtaking display of coordinated effort involving hundreds of thousands of troops, ships, and aircraft. And surprisingly, King George VI wanted to be there. He wasn't interested in leading troops into battle. The image of a monarch wielding a rifle was deemed too risky, but he insisted on accompanying the invasion fleet. He liked the simple life of a soldier, observed Dwight D. Eisenhower, the supreme Allied commander, and was perfectly at home with all of us. He traveled aboard the HMS Duke of Wellington, mingling with sailors and officers, offering words of encouragement and demonstrating his unwavering commitment to the cause. However, a clash of wills arose between the king and Churchill, a rare disagreement between two men who had forged such a strong bond. Churchill, ever the pragmatist, argued that it was too dangerous to have the monarch and the prime minister on the same ship during a massive invasion. A chance bomb, torpedo, or even a mine should remove you from the scene, he warned. A change of sovereign at this moment would be a serious matter for the country and empire. George VI, however, refused to be dissuaded. He argued that it was a matter of fairness, a symbolic gesture of solidarity. "I want to make one more appeal to you not to go to sea on D-Day," he wrote. "Please consider my own position. I am a younger man than you are, I am a sailor, and as king I am the head of all three services. There is nothing I would like to do better than to go to sea, but I have agreed to stay at home. Is it fair that you should then do exactly what I should have liked to do myself?" Churchill, a man of stubborn conviction, finally relented, albeit grudgingly. He agreed to remain ashore, fearing the potential repercussions of a royal casualty. The king, though disappointed, understood the prime minister's concerns and reluctantly agreed to stay behind. The aftermath of the war saw a shift in public opinion. Churchill, a hero of the Allied cause, was lauded as a national icon. But the public, weary of years of sacrifice and hardship, began to question the very nature of the monarchy. The traditional deference and unquestioning loyalty that had once characterized the relationship between the crown and the people were replaced by a more critical and questioning attitude. Then came the scandal surrounding Edward VIII's abdication. The king's brother's affair with Wallis Simpson, an American socialite who was twice divorced, threatened to destabilize the monarchy and even the nation. The public was outraged, demanding that the king intervene to prevent the marriage from taking place. George VI, a man of quiet integrity, refused to be swayed by public pressure. He understood that the marriage was a personal matter and that the monarchy's role was to uphold the rule of law, not to interfere in individual relationships. He allowed Edward to abdicate, preserving the dignity of the crown and maintaining the stability of the nation. But the abdication crisis took a heavy toll on George VI. He suffered from chronic fatigue, anxiety, and what would later be diagnosed as coronary thrombosis. He died suddenly in February 1952 at the age of 56, leaving behind a grieving nation and a young widow, Elizabeth, who was only 25 years old. Elizabeth II inherited a throne already secured by her father's sacrifice and her mother's steadfast service. The abdication had exposed the vulnerabilities of the monarchy, highlighting the need for it to adapt to the changing times. Elizabeth, determined to uphold the traditions of her predecessors while embracing the challenges of the 20th century, embarked on a reign that would span nearly 7 decades. She became known for her quiet dignity, her unwavering commitment to duty, and her remarkable ability to connect with the people. She was a constant presence throughout Britain's post-war recovery, its economic boom, and its social upheaval. But even the Queen was not immune to public scrutiny. The 1990s brought a wave of scandals involving her children, Charles and Diana, their marriages collapsing in a blaze of publicity. The press, emboldened by the advent of television, relentlessly pursued every detail of the royal family's private lives, demanding to know why the Queen hadn't intervened to prevent the divorce. "Show us you care, ma'am," screamed one headline, reflecting the public's frustration and disillusionment. The Queen, a woman accustomed to maintaining a carefully crafted image of detachment and reserve, found herself under unprecedented attack. Yet the British public, despite their fickle nature, eventually rallied behind their Queen. The outpouring of support at the Golden Jubilee in 2002 demonstrated a renewed appreciation for her service and her steadfastness. And so the story of the British monarchy continues, a saga of power, duty, scandal, and resilience. From the quiet, unassuming George VI, who rose to the throne in a time of crisis, to the steadfast Elizabeth II, who has reigned for nearly 7 decades, the monarchy has weathered countless storms, adapting to the changing times while remaining a symbol of national unity and tradition. But the question remains, was it ever truly good to be the Queen? Was it a life of privilege and glamour, or a burden of responsibility and isolation? Perhaps for a single fleeting moment, it was good to be the queen. To be surrounded by luxury, to command the respect of millions, to hold a position of unparalleled influence. But the reality, as Elizabeth herself has acknowledged, was far more complex. It was a life of constant scrutiny, of unwavering duty, of a profound loneliness that few could ever truly understand. And as the Queen's reign draws to a close, one thing is certain. Her legacy will be one of service, of resilience, and of a remarkable ability to adapt to the challenges of a rapidly changing world. But what will happen when the crown passes on? Will the monarchy continue to hold its place as a symbol of national identity, or will it fade into the annals of history, a relic of a bygone era? The answer, like the future itself, remains uncertain.